Greetings and welcome, everybody. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with our Thursday live stream. I've got lots of questions printed out here, and we'll try to answer the questions also that are in the chat. As far as news is concerned, I am now working on upgrading the extra class videos to the 2020 handbook. This is the cover for the new handbook. It's, as you can see, this way, the 12th edition. And this one is good from July 1st, which is already passed, all the way up through June 30th in 2024. And as I can tell you from having updated the last set of videos, it won't take long for that 4 years to come. But my assistant is very carefully comparing the old and new books. And we're putting up new videos at the rate of about one a day. I'm trying to get them up as quickly as I can, since she does all this work reviewing the old versus the new, and then I watch the video to see what I need to change. Like, for example, the one today, which is on satellite communications. There's a new section in the book on PACSATs. So I recorded some additional information on that, added it to the video, and posted it. So we've got a few videos up. We've got a lot to go. Now, I'm trying to do one a day, but as it turns out, I'm going down to Arizona quickly. I'll be down there on Tuesday looking at an airplane. So I may be getting an airplane while I'm down there, so that will take a few days. But because I'm going to drive down, I don't want to get in one of those long metal COVID tubes that they put wings on. I've heard too many people catching COVID on airplanes, so I'm going to, I know that seems odd. I won't take an airplane to see an airplane, but yeah, I'm going to drive down. So I'll be in the Phoenix area on Tuesday and do my business during the day. It'd be fun if there were a ham club meeting or something to go to on Tuesday evening, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to try and get a video out. Let's see, today's Thursday. I'll get one out Friday, one Saturday. Sunday's iffy, and probably not again till Thursday. But we'll get those videos just up just as quickly as I can. And then, of course, they'll be available on the thumb drives also as soon as I get them all done. There seems to be a lot of anticipation about the extra class videos. And I look forward to having them all up. And there's lots of really neat stuff in the extra class. If you are not studying for your extra, even if you're just a tech or brand new to the hobby, go ahead and take a look at the extra class videos. I try to make them as non-technical as I can, but there's some very interesting stuff in there. For example, about how satellites work and stuff like that. So they're up there. So yeah, our ham club is having our first in-person meeting in a long time tomorrow, and masks required. The Olathe Community Center has reopened. The governor has mandated masks, as you would expect, but we are well within the attendance limitations that the state has put out. So we're going to be trying to, and I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to that. I go to the Sam Club because I really enjoy the people there, and we'll see what we can do. Let's see. Now there's some solar power for ham station. I can be solar powered. I did buy the reference station power supply. I've got a separate power strip for that. And I run things with that power supply when I do the videos because I want to use the reference station when I do the videos. Reece Simmons asks, how long does it take per video to, I assume, make a video? Well, just to update an extra video, if I've got just a few things I want to update, it's a good 3 to 4 hour project. Making a new video from scratch, it depends on how complicated the video is, but I spent 2 and 3 days to make a 20-minute video. It takes a lot of preparation. You know, and you assemble all the pieces, and then you get into the editor, and you got to get them all lined up right and get the volume level adjusted and so on and so forth. I've been doing videos now for about 10 years, and it was about the time that I started doing the first set of general videos, which is 8 years ago, something like that, that I decided I really needed to improve the production values. So, and that means more than just talking into a camera, but putting up slides, charts, doing little animations, and so on. So, yeah, somebody asked about soft start. What soft start is for a tube amp, or actually any piece of tube equipment, is something that brings up the voltage slowly so that the filaments in the device can heat up slowly, and then it's far less likely that the tubes will burn out. A tube usually burns out when power is applied or power is removed. And so if you bring them up slowly and then take them down slowly, it can really extend the life of the filaments. In the National Cryptologic Museum in England, which is at Bletchley Park, they have a working model of the Colossus, one of the computers that they used there from World War II. And it's put together by Tommy Flowers and was, in fact, the first programmable computer that was ever used. A lot of people think that was UNIVAC, but Colossus predates it. It was just classified. Nobody knew about it until 10, 15 years ago. But they have a system where it's all tube. There's thousands of tubes in the thing. And they have a system where they can bring that voltage up very slowly. And when they turn it off very slowly so they don't burn out the tubes. And it works really well. Okay. Hi, Dave from Montreal. Hello there, Christian. Ham Radio Hub Echolink. Looks like you got a defective cover, Dave. Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with the cover. It just doesn't have a book attached. That's because my assistant is using the book. I'm just using the cover here for a prop. Okay. Maritime Mobile? Yes. Aeronautical Mobile, AM. Aeronautical Mobile. Wouldn't fly now either, yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, this is the first time I bought an airplane, so I'm going to proceed kind of slowly. The CHA-250 connected to the IC7300 and seemed cannot transmit or receive 6 meters on USB or FM. All the other bands are fine. Now, what is a CHA-250B? That's a Chameleon antenna, isn't it? It may not have 6 meters on it. I have to, why don't you check that on the specs for it? Otherwise, you should be able to see it true. Soon getting my ICOM 9100. Very good. And Reece says he's a YouTuber and uses CyberLink. I also use CyberLink. I am a CyberLink MVP, whatever that means. Most valued professional is what they say, but I'm actually sponsored by CyberLink, and so once a year I review their new software, and otherwise I get to use it for free. But even if they didn't do that, I would pay to use it because it's excellent video editing software and has phenomenal control over everything, and I really like the software. Okay, comment all band vertical. Kai, okay. And tell me if it's for 6 meters, because a lot of the all band verticals just go through 10. Okay, RY. Okay, so that's the RIDI test. Now, I want to point out I've got one question got garbled. KN6JUD, Laurent, sent a question in that got garbled. So if you would please resend it. Oh, come on. What's going on with the focus there? It's a webcam up here, a little Microsoft webcam. Let's go back to normal view. I think what is happening on that is if you fail to fill out a required field, it will crump. And I think the field that people don't want to fill out is their email address. And some people want to keep it private or something like that. Put something in there that looks like an email address, a@b.com or something like that. Just put something in that field so that it will go through properly. The reason I ask for your email is if I need to get in touch with you about something, I'd be happy to do that. Let's see. Well, it's Thursday evening. It has been raining all day. We have had nearly 1/3 of an inch of rain, which we have badly needed the rain, and I'm sure it just soaked right in and went on its way down. We've badly needed rain here. We're in the middle of a drought. The temperature outside is 62, so that's what happens after a thunderstorm passes here. We've had temperatures up in the 90s, some 90s, which is very rare for around here. It's been in the 90s in Montrose. That's very hot for this altitude. We're at 7,000 feet. Now I'm going down to Phoenix. Asked my wife if she'd be interested in coming. I didn't even have the question out of my mouth before she said no way. It's been 114 in Phoenix, but an airplane is an airplane. We've got to go look for it. Jerry Bustin Kr7KZ is sending me an antenna to take a look at, and says it will arrive tomorrow. So when I learn more about that antenna, I'll let you know, maybe Saturday. This one is from Russ Sutton W3MY. Russ notes that he's very interested in the 136 kilohertz ham band. That's the very low ham band that's down. It's a new ham band. There are 2 new ones down there. And this 136 kilohertz ham band is what's called long wave. Actually very long wave, very VLF, very low frequency. The radios that we have today, you know, the ICOM radio says it will tune down to 100 kilohertz, but they don't really optimize the circuits for that low. In Europe, there are broadcast band, AM broadcast bands. There's not only the medium wave band, there's also the long wave band. Okay, and the long wave band is down in that kind of range. So the broadcasting stations are quite strong, and so they don't have real sensitive radios. Now, what most hams do, and I'm going to use the overhead to show how this works, that is, if we can get this thing to focus. Normally what people do is they've got an antenna. Usually the antennas for these low frequencies are very heavily loaded because you can't get an antenna that's anywhere near resonant for these things. These would be hundreds of feet high if they were. And then it goes into something called a transverter. Now, a transverter is an oscillator and a mixer. And so they'll take something like a 6.9 megahertz oscillator, and this is 136 kilohertz, okay? And they'll mix it together, and what comes out is the sum of this, which is 7.036 megahertz. And then you can listen to that on your ordinary ham radio. And you go through the reverse process to get a signal out. And you almost have to have a separate transmitter for it. You can modulate it and then it can transvert it. The reason that it does this is then it gets the signal up into the sensitive part of the radio. Now, these low bands that we have now are very much kind of like new and researchy for ham radio. So they are new. There are books out about them. One of the most difficult things to do is to build some sort of antenna that is resonant. We are limited, I believe, to 1 watt EIRP. Well, if you have an antenna that's so heavily loaded that the losses in the thing are like 99% loss, then you can put 100 watts into it and still get 1 watt EIRP out of it. And that's kind of how it works. So that would be how you would do that. There's a lot of stuff that is written on it. I've never done a video on it. Some people have, I'm sure. But you'll have to do research on this. You can just put the frequency in and do research on it. There's a little bit, there will be lots. And now they've just opened up. The ARRL has now made QEX available to all members. That was their experimental journal. It's now available to all members on digitally. So you can go look in there for articles on that, and that's where you'll find them. Hello, Far West Missouri. Tom says it does do 6 meters. Hello from Cleveland. Comet 23-foot vertical with a base matching networks, claims no radials. What rig would you suggest for a tech who wants to get started doing CW on HF on a shoestring budget? If you can fork over $200, you can try the HF SIG's Micro BITX version 6. It'll put out about 5 watts. 5 watts is plenty for CW, and you've got a complete rig there, except of course you need an antenna and a key. If you want to go up a little bit for that, I've got the G90 here to review, which is a fine little radio. I'm kind of impressed with it. I thought I was doing 20 watts on the thing, and I made a couple contacts and then realized I was only doing 5 watts. So it does actually work, but that's more expensive. That'll set you back closer to 500. If you want a really inexpensive little radio, try the QRP Labs QCX. But and you can get that with a case. However, it's a kit. You'll need to make it yourself. The HF SIG's radio, where have I got mine? Up there. Let me just get that down. This is the HF SIG's radio. I ordered this. They didn't send it to me. It'll do single sideband and it'll do CW, and you can do digital modes with it too. It's all band. It comes, if you pay for the case, you get the case. There's no soldering on the installation. You just screw things together. So it's a kind of kit that's actually fairly easy to put together. Now you will need, of course, an antenna. I would suggest the MFJ 2010, and then operate on 40 meter CW, and 40 meters is where you're going to get most of the action. There are places for slow code. Look up SKCC on the internet. SKCC, is it club? .org. Somebody knows that and can put that in the note here. Yeah. Yeah. Do the new low frequencies have phone privileges? I don't think so. I think most people do either Whisper or FT8. Let's see, headed up on a 3-hour trek to HRO Saturday, trying to resist buying the IC7300. Oh, why try? Just go ahead and get it. And Sean, thank you very much. Sean McGrath, everybody, I think he's W1SMM. And tell me if I got that wrong. I would be embarrassed if I do. Sean was the one who gave me my ground school, and I have passed the written exam for sport pilot now. So now it's flying, it's concentrating on flying. And the problem I'm having with it, to be, just to just report on that end of my life, is getting time with an instructor in an airplane. There is a grand total of 1 aircraft to rent in the entire Gunnison and Uncompahgre valleys, and it's a Cessna 182. And I am been able to get it about once every 2 weeks. And you can't learn to fly if you do it twice a month. I mean, you get back in it, you have to relearn everything you did 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to get this plane up here, and then I can fly in it every time I can get hold of an instructor to actually learn how to do this. I am not the world's best when it comes to muscle memory and things like that, so I'm having to do a lot of practice. And yeah, I'm using a simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator comes out on August 18th, and it's going to blow away all the other simulators, and I'm looking forward to getting a copy. And if I have to, I will upgrade the computer to be able to do it. Sean, by the way, is an outstanding teacher, and I hope he goes ahead and offers this as a service online because it works so well. Pretty easy to build an end-fed half-wave if you have about 60 feet to stretch it out. Yeah? Yes. I've got up right now, and the antenna that I used with the G90 is my antenna's end-fed half-wave 80-10. So it'll go 80 through 10 meters. It, of course, only covers a sliver of 80 meters, but it covers all the bands up from that. And I had my QSOs, I think, on 20 meters. With that antenna. By the way, the tip of that antenna is only 20 feet in the air. And if you look at the instructions and the way they've laid out that antenna, that's kind of how they anticipate people will use it. So I took that most common use case, and that's the way I laid it out. As you could tell from the video I did on that, I was quite impressed by that antenna. Straight Key Century Club, yes. And Dino gives his SKCC number there. I'm just trying to think what the website is. It's sccsomething.org. Would really recommend RC airplanes to help with the seat of the pants flying skills. I should do that. I just need more time, more stick time. Yes, ARRL has a nice downloaded PDF of the bands. I've got to get the new one. They've got one that's in portrait form now that I think is easier to deal with than the old one that is in landscape mode. Okay, and this, again, from Jerry Bustin, pointing out that will be a stainless steel J-pole. That should be very interesting to see. This one is from Kirk Anderson, W9KOA. Hello from central Minnesota. Following the channel for about a year. Enjoys it. And thank you for your kind words. He lives on the 2nd floor and is having trouble grounding. And then he gives a link to an article on flexradio.com about grounding for antennas. And I want to do a little deviation from what they have. You got your antenna out here, and you've got a house, and you're living on the 2nd floor. Your ground is way down here. It's a long ways away. Okay, now you do need to ground. Here is what I would recommend for you. That you take all your antennas, and instead of, like they point out in there, bringing them in, don't do that. Bring your antenna down here to the ground rod and put a lightning arrestor on it. The Alpha Delta ones are the ones I use. And then take your cable up into the shack. And then you won't run into the ground loop problem that this other was saying, because this is long enough to be an antenna by itself. Use a strap, copper strap, or the coax braid type stuff, braid to go down there. Round wires have less surface area. I happen to use a number 2 stranded wire for mine, but I'm going to replace that at some point with copper strap. But if you bring your antennas down to here, and then the shield is grounded, you bring them all up together, and you're not going to run into the same ground loop problems that you might otherwise. Now, I'm not guaranteeing you won't have a ground loop, because very possibly you might, but I think you'll be in good shape for that. Okay, 22.630 allow phone. Oh, okay, straight key-centric club. Let's see, give into the 7300, yes. Yeah, I guess I'll have to try. I've got a drone, but the drone is so easy to fly. It doesn't take any skill. It just sits there till you tell it what to do. It sits in midair. And if you tell it to go up, it'll go up even though there's a real bad wind. Okay, and here's 666 in Canadian to keep the evil out of your radio gear. At least I think that's how it works. This is from Toys Are for Boys. Thank you very much. How long is the My Antennas? It's about 130 some odd feet long. Congratulations on your ground school. Yesterday celebrated his 1 year for his tech license. Whoops, it just got removed. You don't have to take it down. It looked like a perfectly good comment. How many turns are in the ballon? Where can we get a wiring diagram? Oh, it's a 49-to-1 ballon, and the ballon is talking about the My Antennas antenna. It's sealed, completely sealed. It's really a 49-to-1 ballon inside. Why grounding rod is not made of stainless steel? Is it a cost issue? Stainless steel is not nearly as good a conductor of electricity as is copper. So the ground rods are made of steel, and I'm not sure what the actual mixture is. They're made of steel and coated in copper, plated in copper. So it's the copper that conducts the best, much better than steel. And so it's going to act properly as a ground rod that way. And they aren't that expensive. You can get them down at Home Depot or Lowe's or one of the stores like that. Just got heard of the 3rd watt in Antarctica on 30 meters with whisper beacon. Very good. Yes. Okay. 978. It's the number squared. So it's a 7-to-1 transformer. So you do a couple turns, and then you do 14 turns on the other, and that's a 7-to-1 ratio. So you square that to get the impedance. It will be a 49-to-1 ballon. It's actually 98-to-2, but 49-to-1 ballon. It works very well. skccgroup.org. Okay. Yes, I know I do have different audio levels on that. I'm not very good at this piece of software. What is the difference between an edge and a random wire antenna? Which would you recommend? I'm not sure what an edge is. If you're talking about tuned antennas are the norm, but you can use a random length of wire. You'll have to have a tuner for it because it will take tuning. And it will be an antenna all the way till it gets to the antenna tuner, which means part of your antenna is in the shack. But it's time-honored. Random length wire is considered to be substantially more than a wavelength long. Okay, so get them fairly long. Yeah, and this audio, I can try turning this up a little bit. Hopefully that it doesn't go too high. Okay, let's see, what is the difference of end-fed? Oh, end-fed and a random wire antenna. Okay, an end-fed antenna is resonant. It's resonant. A dipole is a dipole, okay, and you can feed it in the middle, you can feed it off-center, you can feed it at the end. The classic way to feed a dipole is in the center. And that will give you something on the order of 50 ohms at normal heights. If you have it at a half wave, it'll be closer to 75 ohms. But at normal heights, 50 is close enough to think about it. And an off-center fed, very often they do 1/3, 2/3 on that, and you need about a 4-to-1 balun. Now, I want to answer another question I got before. Sorry, there we go. He says, why won't an 80 meter dipole work on 40 meters? A dipole is a wavelength over 2. Okay? Half a wavelength. Now, on 80 meters, that's about 132 feet. Now, on 40 meters, a half wavelength dipole, lambda over 2, lambda is the wavelength, is about 66 feet. Okay? Now, here's something fun you can do with dipoles. If you take a dipole, okay, and attach it to another dipole, you have to attach another one over here. So you get 1, 2, 3. It's 3 lambda over 2. Now note that won't work for 80 meters. If that's 80 meters, you've got to go 120 on the thing in order for it to work. Dipoles, it's got to be an odd number of dipoles. You can't just take another dipole and put it out here like this, which would then be a full wavelength dipole. Won't work. It has to be an odd number. Okay, 2n plus 1 times lambda over 2. Has to be an odd multiple. Now there is one useful combination in ham radio, and that is a 40 meter dipole, which is a half wavelength on 40, is 3 halves wavelengths on 15, because you've got a dipole here and a dipole here. You've got 1, 2, 3. So a 40 meter dipole is pretty close to being tuned on 15 meters. And if you want, you can use a tuner to use your 40 meter dipole on 15 meters. It's not exact, but it will work if you use a tuner. Okay. William is studying for general. Good luck with your studies. If one is stranded in the wild without cellular signal, is it possible to build something from simple stuff to communicate with a satellite for help? No. You need a satellite phone or something like that. Now, a lot of companies like Delarme, which has been taken over by Garmin, publish or produce little, they're very small units that you can take with you, where you can do emergency messaging. They aren't dreadfully expensive for the basic models. You do SOS, and that will send your location plus whatever SOS message you've decided on up to the satellite that monitors for these things, and that will go to an emergency operations center. You can do that, but you're not going to take sticks and strings like E.T. did and phone home. You're going to need something purpose-built for the process. I'd recommend you look at the Garmin products if you think you're going to be in the woods and might find yourself in a situation where you need help. If, for example, you've got a pre-existing condition, or you might, doing something dangerous, you might break a leg or something like that. Those little things can be lifesavers. 49-to-1 all-band prefab antennas. Why not just build your own for a lot cheaper? Well, you got to get that toroid core. You absolutely can do that. There's nothing to stop you from doing it. The thing about the NFET antenna, and let's see, my antennas one is, it's just all put together for you there. Maybe an HV cap too. Yeah, 130 is a quarter wave on 160, half wave on 80, full wave on 40. Full wave dipoles are extraordinarily difficult to load. They just don't want to load. Because you've got a half wave on either side of the connection, and a half wave will cancel the signal. So, why can't you use the ground pin in an electrical socket for ground in a third floor apartment? What would be the alternatives? Well, you will be grounding because your power supply has a 3-wire plug, and that does ground to the utility ground. So you've got your safety ground there. Now, if you're in a third floor apartment and can't ground, try operating without it, see how well you do. There are MFJ cells, artificial grounds, or you could put a counterpoise on. You can look those up on Wikipedia and see what a counterpoise is and so on. So yes, you do use that third or the green wire ground for that. How's the NFET working? Really well. If you have a problem with an SWR, they deliberately make the thing a few feet long. So what they suggest is that you shorten it until you get the 80-meter band to resonate. They give a frequency. It's about 3.6 megahertz. And then the other bands come in. And I did have to do that. I did take 2 feet off. I could have taken more. I didn't take them off. I wound it back on itself, but it's the equivalent of taking a couple feet off. It worked very well. Yeah, the utility ground isn't that good for RF. Oh, good grief. ET would have made a good citizen, I'm sure. Let's see. New Ham live HOA with limited. Smart house everything option. Yeah, you're going to have to try a bunch of things. Make sure you join your local club and see what you can do there. Transmitting caused severe interference and actually damaged the thermostat and some switches. Oh, that's a pain. Obviously, the antenna is too close. If you can't sneak an outdoor antenna of some kind, try like the MFJ balcony antenna or Magloop, something like that, or Buddy Pole. Yeah. And this guy cut 7 feet off of his my antennas. I've heard other people have cut 6. So, okay. I'm just looking at this, see if this is... Okay, this next one is from Tom Rayborn. It says, just came across your YouTube channel and has subscribed. Passed both his tech and general last Saturday. Well, Tom, congratulations to you. Welcome to Ham Radio. Would you suggest the DMR over analog? All the DMR radios also do analog. So you're not giving up analog if you get a DMR or D-Star or C4FM radio. Okay. Would you need a hotspot to go along with the digital HT? Only if you can't reach the repeater. If you can reach the repeater, you're fine. Do you have a suggestion for portable handheld antenna for the 2 and 70 centimeter bands? There are lots for sale. Check MFJ. Check your local ham store, which is probably HRO on the web, or DX Engineering. I'm kind of leaning toward DX Engineering these days because, I don't know, I've just found their website easier to use. Ham Radio Outlet does great stuff, and I know somebody who works there. But if you go talk to one of those about you want a longer antenna on your handheld, they'll have something for you. They'll want to know what handheld you have because there's 3 different connectors in use: male SMA, female SMA, and BNC. Okay. Do you have a video on the basics of APRS? Yes, I think there's one up there somewhere. Go to dcastler.com/previous. dcastler.com / and then the word in lowercase previous. And it will bring up the list of all the Ask Dave videos. Then do a Control F search. So you're just searching the web page and look for what are we talking about here? Oh yes, APRS in there. And I may do another one here. I need to do more stuff for techs. This is from Reece Simmons, who is one of our younger hams here, wondering if you could have different configurations of the MFJ 2010. For an inverted V, what would be the minimum angle that would be required at the top? 90 degrees. Could you turn the wire halfway through? You can do almost anything with, you can, you know, if you got to get around the corner of a house, you can zigzag it a little bit. When you're doing, and I'll do the overhead here again, when you are hanging an inverted V, okay, you only need one support here. Get this 8 feet off the ground and this 8 feet off the ground so that nobody runs into these ends. I like to tie these down low on trees so that people, when they're walking by, will walk underneath it. This angle right here should be greater than 90 degrees. Okay? It should be greater than 90 degrees. If you're looking for an optimum angle, try 135 degrees. But that should be more than 90 degrees. If you start bringing them in closer than 90 degrees, it doesn't really act like a dipole anymore. Okay, and the MFJ 2010 is a nice antenna. That is our reference antenna for the reference station, by the way. And mine's sitting out on the ground. I really should put it up and connect it back up and use it. I have 5 lightning arresters, and they've all got antennas connected to them. And lightning arrestor number 1 has got a 50-foot piece of coax connected to it, 50 feet of RG213, and that's what I use for experimental antennas. So I can only have up about one at a time at the moment. Okay, this is from Michael Bloomston KE0WNL. He is concerned about what to get. He's considering getting the ICOM 705 when it is released, along with the MFJ Xigu XPXA 125B 100 watt amp. Skip that and go straight to the 7300. It'll be cheaper. The 705 is actually going to be priced higher than the 7300. Crazy, isn't it? It's crazy that they do that. But get the 7300. He's on 3rd floor facing east, and so he's got all kinds of issues with antennas. And again, try either a ham stick, which is what the MFJ balcony antenna is, or try a mag loop, or whatever it is. He's on the 39th floor in Denver. There aren't very many buildings in Denver that are 39 floors high. The Denver Radio Club is a venerable old radio club and well regarded, and I would recommend that you go get yourself involved with that club, and at the breaks ask people what their thinking is, and you might find somebody in your same situation. The inner city radio clubs tend to have more people who are in apartments or in high rises or whatever. I don't know how tall your roof is, how many stories are in your building, but if you are only within 100 feet or so of the roof, talk to the building owner and see if you can put up an antenna on the roof of the building, a radialless vertical, for example, like the AV640, and just put that on the roof. And what you do with that is you build a tripod for it and hold it down with bricks or concrete cinder blocks or something like that. well, I was in the Air Force. I did that. I persuaded the base commander to let me put an antenna on the roof of the bachelor officers' quarters. So you never know. You can ask. All I can do is say no. But getting it up on the roof would be a coup. I mean, wow, that'd be a good spot for an antenna. Okay, from N8VOX, thank you for the extra videos. Appreciate your Elmering on YouTube. Thank you. And he is showing that Super Chat is working. And thank you very much. Let's see, what else do we... What is the best shortwave radio to buy? There are lots of them out there. It depends on how serious you want to get. I would get something like the SDR Play SDR Uno. Because that's a very wide band, and it's only $100. It's a very wide band shortwave receiver, and VHF, and UHF, and microwave. And when I do shortwave listening, that's kind of where I head to that radio, which happens, by the way, to be a permanent part of my station here. Inverted V, okay. Know a couple folks that hide their vertical behind the fence, only raising it up when they operate. Yes. RNL has low prices. Okay. More money. Yeah, the new ICOM. I don't understand their pricing model. Yeah, I'm live stream Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain, and on Saturdays at 1900 UTC, which is 1 o'clock during daylight savings time. Denver Radio Club meeting on Zoom right now, third Wednesdays at the Jeffco County building. The Taj Mahal, oh yeah, that's quite a fancy building. How would you deploy an 8010 random wire antenna in an attic? Oh my goodness. Well, you try and get as straight as you could, but you're not going to do very well on 80 there. You know, you can do loops too. And this is from We the People for 556. Due to COVID, YouTube has been my Elmer. Thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate that very much. Have you ever done a video on the Raspberry Pi? I've touched on it. I just did a video recently on Dave, yeah, I can't think of his name, Dave, who did a collection of ham radio software on it. He calls it the Ham Pi. And he's Dave Slaughter. Dave Slaughter, that's S-L-O-T-T-E-R, by the way. And he is a patron, a longtime patron, longtime Augie. And I did a video interviewing him on that. It's a free software download you can use for Raspberry Pis. Yeah. Okay. This is a lengthy question. I don't know if I can get through all of it. It's from Jeff Lehman, who is KC0JBP. And he has the ICOM 7300 and the Samlex power supply. But instead of purchasing antenna, he wants to build one. And it's a nice thing to do, to build an antenna that's part of your station. You can say, hey, this is mine. You know, I made this. It's not just commercial. He's starting out with an inverted V, 20-foot high flagpole in my front yard with an acre lot. So you can also run a wire from the top of the flagpole to your roof line too. He has some questions. One, what effect does adding to the antenna length by soldering the wires have on the antenna? None. You can solder wires on there. You can piece an antenna wire together out of several pieces just by soldering them together. That's fine. The soldering joints have no effect on the antenna. Can you explain why a properly tuned 80-meter antenna can't be used for harmonics of the fundamental frequency, like on the 40-meter band? It has to be odd harmonics. Odd harmonics. So 40 can be done on 15 because that's 7 megahertz to 21. But it does have to be odd harmonics. Seeing S9 noise on 80 meters and 40 meters. Oh, that is such a problem. I would suggest paying very special attention to grounding. By the way, if you have a flagpole out there, they do make flagpole antennas that are well grounded. They do need radials. And you can do something like that. He's seeing S9 plus 20 dB harmonics of something 60 kilohertz apart, traced it down to the cable modem by shutting circuits off. What that is the switching power supply for the cable modem. And it's in a little cube, and it's very poorly shielded. You can try a different power supply. You can try a different cable modem, but it's the power supply that's the issue. And it's very frustrating. Try putting there are little clamp-on ferrites that you can get, and put them right by the wall wart part of that power supply, and see what you can do with that. Is there any kind of shield? Let's see. Best practices to understand SDB voice when the noise floor. Now, make sure that you are using the noise reduction feature, not the noise blanker, the noise reduction feature of your radio, because that can really help reduce the amount of noise that's in there. You have a 7300 and it has noise reduction, and you can go into the manual on the thing and see how that's done, but you can adjust the amount of noise reduction. The payoff is that more noise reduction makes slightly more distortion in the voice, and so it's a trade-off to what your ears like, but I really crank up the noise reduction. Some tall trees in the backyard to hang an antenna. What people usually do is use like one of those compressed air tennis ball launchers to take a piece of fishing line over a tree, and then you use that fishing line to run a rope over the tree, and then use the end of the rope to hang the antenna up there, and you can get them fairly high that way. There are videos on how to do that. Is it a given that a beginner in HF would need an antenna tuner to be able to transmit on the most popular frequencies? No, it's not. If you have, well, first of all, if you do break down and get the MFJ 2010, the antenna tuner that is built into your 7300 should be able to tune that just fine. Now, I would recommend, if you've got some trees, stretching that antenna between your roof and the tree. Okay, so most of it's out over the open backyard. I think you'll find it'll work very well. The other thing I would really recommend to get that noise down is to do the grounding, like I suggested earlier on the chart there. Okay. This is from Reece Simmons KI5CXO again, and Reece asked as many questions as you want. I was wondering about vanity call signs. What are the necessary forms to fill out, and can I request a specific call? Go to the ARRL website and search on vanity call signs, and it'll have the process all outlined for you. They are free. Reece, I'm not sure if you've got your Tech General. Well, he says, thank you for the extra video, so I'm guessing in general. So you can, they will ask you on the form to list acceptable call signs. If they can't find you one that's off that form, they'll just send it back. They won't change your call sign without it being one that's on your list. There are rules that go with it and so on, but there's no extra fees for it, and you can put out any one that you want. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. This is from Mike Odom, KO for CVC/AG. So if he's /AG, that means he just passed his general. So congratulations to you, Mike. He's very new in the ham world. He's been following the reference station torn between the 7300 and the FTDX 3000. They are both fine radios. I'd recommend the 7300. I have both of those radios. Specs show the 7300 is a receive range to 74.8. That's because in Europe there is a so-called 4-meter band, and the 4-meter band is available on that radio in Europe. That is not true in the United States. But they all cover, in the 56 to 74 in the United States, there's nothing amateur radio in there. There's some military stuff and things like that. Let's see what else we've got here. OCF disciples claim you can run a wire antenna cut for its fundamental frequency and even harmonics. Good for them. I don't believe it. Show me. Looking forward to putting their proposals to the test. You can get an inexpensive 9-to-1 on Amazon with an SMA connector. Ooh. Why? Get an SO239 on it. SMAs are not designed for power. That's microwave stuff. The weighted arborist bags available on Amazon work great for getting lines up in trees. Good slick line helps too. What's the specified power limit on that 9-to-1? Probably pretty low. The ARRL will submit your vanity call request form for you. Very good. Okay. Not transmit. Receive only. Okay. Hello Code Masseur from Dacula, Georgia. Thumbs up. Will antennas attract lightning? No, they don't attract them, but boy, can it be used as a lightning rod at the same time? Don't. If you're going to put up a system that specifically is designed for lightning, don't use it with your radio. The radio antenna is resonant on HF. Okay, the lightning is designed entirely differently. You want to disconnect your antennas when there's lightning in the area. You know, this is the same. There's an old theory that trailer parks attract tornadoes. I just think there are enough trailer parks around that we always see them on TV. Where's some right? Okay. Reece applied today. Well, good, Reece. I hope you get a call sign that you really like. Any reason to get an FTDX 3000 over a used FTDX 1200? They've discontinued the FTDX 1200. I like the FTDX 3000. I think it's a more sophisticated radio in its front end. It's a down converting radio as opposed to the FTDX 1200, which is an up converting radio, meaning that its roofing filters work a little bit better. If a receive-only situation really benefits from no. The SWR is just not dreadfully important on receive. If you want to put an antenna tuner, the cheapest antenna tuner you can find, in line with a long wire antenna, you can sort of tweak it for max noise. Okay, and that's what you'll get out of it. But the SWR is just not important, and you probably want a long wire or something like that, so you get very broadband action. Also, there are ring antennas, I'll call them ring antennas, that are made for receive only. They have preamps in them. MFJ has one. They're not cheap, but I've got one. They sent me one to test, and I use that as one of the antennas with my SDR play. Okay, let's see. Have antenna wire, 14 gauge, will survive weather, but are insulated with black, so hard to see. Yes, very good. Wireman also has a lot. Okay. This one is from Tom KE0WNL. He had an advanced license. It is expired. He now has a general. Did I say that my old advanced license can now be reinstated? No, they won't do that. You have to, if you had a ham license prior to some date, and you pass your tech exam, you can have either your general or your extra restored. They don't restore the advanced, which is a shame, but they don't. I was in advanced for 21 years. They don't restore the advanced because that's not a currently issued license. So they're not going to create another license that just isn't in their system anymore. So you can get either general or extra. So if you had an advanced and you pass your tech, you'll get your general back, and then you'll have to study for the extra. The SMA is for Della Jackson's RSP1A. Yes, it does have SMA inputs. Cheap unknown makes a non-transition from a long wire to the coax. Okay, whatever works in there. Do you have recommendations for portable QRP antennas? The Chameleon F loop. I have the Chameleon P loop in the other room. The issue with it, of course, is that you've got to operate portable right where you can get your hand up to the antenna so you can turn the knob to tune it. Okay, so that's the use case for that type of antenna. It's for portable operation. And it works. The antenna works just fine. Those mag loops work about as well as a dipole when you have them tuned, but they're extremely high Q. There's also a little thing called Alex Tune that you can get, I think from DX Engineering, that just clips on those antennas and the LED glows brightly when it's in tune. Makes it much harder or much easier to find the tuning point. So that's kind of, the P loop works fine. I think their F loop's a little more expensive. I think they've come out with something where you can tune it remotely too, but the MFJ loop, of course, is kind of pricey, but you've got remote tuning. You can do tuning from the shack. Okay, FD891, good radio, yes. Kind of small physically, so you don't have a very good screen. Okay, I think we're running out of time. I'm going to set these aside over here and just say that my schedule for next week is I'll probably be out of town Sunday after church, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I may not be back till Friday. So I may be back in time, I probably will be back in time to do the Thursday live stream. And I will do this Saturday's live stream. So wish me luck with the airplane, and one last chance for the super chat. And let's see, love your channel. Thank you, Paul. Could I string up a 20-meter dipole on the top of my 22-foot camper? Well, a 20-meter dipole is going to be 33 feet long. So if you've got some poles that you can stick it up a ways, you'll be fine. Another opportunity is to take, do something like MFJ does with the ham sticks, which have loading in them. It makes them kind of a high Q, but they do work. They do work. I've seen a lot of RVs with ham antennas on it. Okay. And let's see, from London, looking for a USB solution for 817 data port. No longer works with PL2303. I'm looking to do data modes QRP, and I don't want to spend loads of money. Well, for about $100, you can get the, where is it? I'm looking right at it. Signal Link USB, and connect to it with that. Blockwood54, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it very much. CQ VHF this weekend, very good. And 73s. And so I will say to all of you 73, remember to submit your questions to at ke0og.net/ask-dave, which is how most of them come in. Be sure to fill out all the fields. And you can also send them to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. So 73 to all of you. I absolutely love talking to you. These live streams are my favorite part of the week. And we will talk to you later. See you on Saturday. 73.